Well, thank you for joining me today, Alex. This is Russ from defendmybusiness.com, powered by Disruption.io, to do our vendor series, starting with eSentire. We've got Alex from eSentire here to discuss, a lot about eSentire, what they do, how they do it, as well as why they work with us at defendmybusiness.com and other companies to provide access to their services through their trusted agents. So really, eSentire handles the cybersecurity side of the business, but defendmybusiness.com, we're all about supporting you in every aspect of the business that we can, which is physical security, which we can help you with, connectivity, mobility, voice, really anything that you use to run your business. We have something for you to either help protect your business or help you operate efficiently, cost savings, whatever the case may be. Defendmybusiness.com, our experts there will be able to help you, but we're focusing on eSentire today as our vendor profile series. So Alex, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, why eSentire likes working with agents like ourselves, and go into a presentation that you've prepared.
Absolutely. Pleasure to be here, Russ, and thanks for having me on. I've been with eSentire for just over 5 years now. We're a Canadian-based cybersecurity firm, about 600 employees, over 2,000 customers globally, and we've been in business since 2001. So kind of dinosaurs as far as the cybersecurity space goes, I suppose. We love working with companies like Disruption.io because we are specialists in cybersecurity, but we don't provide things like mobility and voice, and so we can cover that aspect of the business, knowing that Disruption is going to be able to assist with the remaining parts and ultimately cover everybody's business needs, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where we step in as the experts for your business. We will connect you with either Alex or somebody from his team globally. We'll have somebody support you from eSentire, but our team is going to be asking all kinds of questions about physical security or connectivity that all tie into eSentire. So once we've done the introduction, we can step back and assess all those other aspects of your business as well.
Absolutely. So I think as far as cybersecurity goes, and as far as the industry, I suppose as a whole, it can be a difficult thing for businesses to tackle, right? There are so many different aspects to cybersecurity, and there are so many different changing compliance guidelines that oftentimes it's something that companies struggle with, right?
Absolutely.
And I think that that's something that we were essentially designed for, is small and mid-sized businesses that don't have the resources and the backings of major companies to have big security teams. What's the solution for them, right? It's not to just have one person, or multiple people that are looking at alerts and not really knowing how to navigate them. It's about outsourcing it and giving SOC capabilities to those companies that wouldn't be able to do it internally, right?
Oh, absolutely. And the threats are always evolving, always changing. So working with a team that's always on the cutting edge absolutely makes sense. For
sure. So the industry landscape right now, I mean, like you said, it's changing all the time, and regulations are constantly growing. In the last year, 45 states in the U.S. introduced over 250 bills that were related to cybersecurity regulation. So those are things that are hard to stay on top of. What applies to everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what we've seen is a shift towards what we would call cyber resilience, and the idea of acting with a risk-based approach as opposed to kind of a reactionary approach. And that's moving towards what we would consider to be like continuous threat exposure management. So it's essentially an idea that no organization can protect against every single cyber event. The idea of eliminating cyber risk or going to a 0% risk is impossible. So instead, it's focusing on what things are most critical to protecting your business, what assets are most likely to be attacked, and also most likely to cause the highest amount of impact to the business, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, we start with identifying those things and identifying the assets and vulnerabilities based on that risk, and then understanding, how attacks might occur on those things, and then ultimately, how do we mobilize that? How do we throw people at that problem? And for enterprise companies, it's easier to throw people at that problem because they've got a team of security people. They probably have a security operations center that runs 24/7. But for smaller mid-sized businesses, it costs millions of dollars to start up a security operations center, and you really need to be a 24/7 shop in order to truly protect the business, right? So that's where outsourcing is typically a better solution. I think 80% of ransomware attacks in the first half of 2022 occurred outside of business hours, so between 6 p.m. And 6 a.m. essentially, or 6 p.m. and 7 a.m. So you got to have people on call, kind of, but really you have to have people doing like active threat hunting during those times to really be protected, right? And as we move in the current state, we're all being tasked to do more with less, and it's really hard to do that with cybersecurity.
Absolutely.
As things have changed over the last few years as well, which is really interesting. When I started here, most of the conversations were around phishing emails, right? And that being the most common way for attackers to get in. And I would say percentage-wise, it still is the most common way, and it's certainly the most advantageous for attackers. But they're getting more sophisticated and smarter on those things because attackers know that organizations have focused on doing phishing and security awareness training, right, and trying to educate the users. So they had to find and are continuing to find different ways to attack businesses. What we've seen is that what's called drive-by social engineering attacks have become a more common way to victimize businesses. So what that is exploiting more on like the human psychology or the trust to manipulate people. So that could be as simple as the scams that we see all the time of like an invoice being sent that looks like a legitimate invoice, and then all of a sudden they're getting paid, and then that attacker just takes that money and moves on. It could also lead to revealing sensitive information or potentially downloading malware as well. So these attacks, while phishing continues to be the most advantageous way to ultimately exploit the business, these are kind of quick wins, right? And ways for attackers to do what they need to do and then move along to the next company.
Absolutely. And it's interesting to see, actually, this is a stat I've never really thought of, but even though the percentages of email or social engineering have changed, it's still very human, and it's still around that same percentage point of around 70%. I'm assuming that's percentages there, of attacks are through human nature, not necessarily, they've got a program that's, finding a tunnel in and getting all your information. It's easier just to target a human because we're fallible. We make mistakes. We trust people and trust things. So it's interesting to see that certain ways of addressing the human nature side of it change, but it's still almost the same amount, which is very interesting to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like you said, humans make mistakes, right? We're not perfect. None of us are. And it could be as simple as someone clearing out their emails at the end of the day, and they've had a long day. They've been in meetings for 9-10 hours, and they're just trying to clear the inbox, and they accidentally click on something, right? It's as simple as that. And something as innocent as that can lead to something bigger, right? So it's really important that we're prepared for that inevitable piece of someone just making an honest mistake, and what do we do next, right?
Absolutely. And is something a training on the human side something that eSentire offers as well?
We do offer that as a service. Yes, we do offer security and phishing awareness training for users, certainly.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I think we look at these things and we think about the security job market, right? And I think security probably has a 0% unemployment rate, and it's really hard to hire good security professionals. And the thing with security professionals that's interesting is that they're not motivated financially 100%. They're motivated by opportunities to learn and to get skill development as a security analyst. And working for a small to mid-sized company, if you're one of maybe just yourself or one of a couple people, you end up spending most of your time just investigating alerts that your security tools are delivering to you. And that's an easy way to have burnout, right? Because you don't have time to do skill development if you're just looking at what is the output from your security tools all day. And it's really hard to find satisfying work, and then ultimately leading to burnout and leading to turnover. Organizations like ours, where we have, security operations center here, and ours is designed to prevent burnout, it's a better job environment for a security professional that's looking to learn, because they're going to see all different types of attacks across our customer base all the time, right? It's going to keep them on their toes. It's going to keep them, learning and finding new ways to prevent these things and identify these things. And that's just a better job experience for them than, being someone who investigates and closes out tickets, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So it's even harder than it has been for organizations to find these people, right? And while they aren't financially motivated, their going rate for security analysts is quite high, and so oftentimes, one single FTE can be, all the budget for security for an entire year for an organization, right?
Yeah, absolutely. As opposed to, having a team behind you, experts that, are always up to date, learning, going through, preventing that burnout, and always providing that constant education, as opposed to just being reactionary and being proactive. So it absolutely makes sense for a business that's looking for a solution, whether it's FTE or somebody else, and like yourselves, and hiring the eSentire to say, look, we can allocate the budget over here, but we know we're covered by a team as opposed to that single employee. So that's great.
For sure, absolutely. So, I mean, from our perspective, and what we deliver is exactly that, right? We deliver that team, that long history of processes, and that big group of people that are able to do the end-to-end threat detection and response on behalf of our customers. So it's really important, when you're looking at cybersecurity vendors from a services perspective, that you understand everything, that is in scope for, what their responsibilities are, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of noise in the security services market, I would say, and there are a lot of companies that do managed detection and response, or have a facet of their business that does it, but there are different categories within there. I think there's a category of cybersecurity services that is heavily alert driven. They might do some initial detection, maybe a little bit of alert triage, but chances are they're probably relying on a SIM tool to do that. And the downside of a SIM tool is that you can't take action from a SIM, right? It's just a information system where you'll be able to do log analysis, and maybe that's enough for you, right? Maybe you just want to either check a box, or you have a few security personnel and you just want that initial alert triage out of the way. But for most companies, they need a company that's going to do not only that initial detection, but they're going to do the response and the remediation side of things as well. They want that white glove service that is initial detection, threat mitigation, and then we're going to get on the phone and say, look, we've stopped this attack from spreading. We've contained it to a machine or a couple of machines. Here's what our recommended next step would be. And so that way we're doing, active threat prevention of business disruption, right? We don't want a piece of malware to start spreading from machine to machine with the goal of encrypting. We'd rather contain that to one or two machines, and then work with the company to get those machines back online and continue their operations as is.
Absolutely.
So I think that's really key. I think with services in general, right? Not just cybersecurity services. It's the small details that really matter. And I think that what the contents of response and remediation is a really important thing that organizations that are researching companies like ours and trying to understand, who's the best partner for me. Those little details about, what happens when an attack is occurring. What does the workflow process look like? What are your responsibilities? What are our responsibilities? How often can I call you guys? How many alerts will you investigate for us? From our perspective, that's an unlimited amount. If we have organizations that are being persistently attacked, it's our responsibility to continue to protect them and continue to perform those actions. And then ideally, we can get to a state where they're not being persistently attacked because we maybe improve those security controls with our recommendations. But
Right.
if that's the case, then that's what we have to do, and we don't want to put a price on protection, and that's why we do it in essentially unlimited response to remediation out of the SOC.
All right. And you mentioned cyber resilience team as an extension of yours. So do you ever have customers that maybe have some, maybe one FTE that is a cybersecurity professional, but do you see instances where they're like, okay, we're good here, but we need help with this area? Is it more the 24/7 support? Is there any area where you have a team, maybe a small team, here's where eSentire can step in and help back them up?
Absolutely. We have organizations that have small security and maybe even larger security teams, right? There are aspects of security that we are not covering for, things like MFA, for example, right? That's not something that's in our purview, or like actual management of firewalls, for example, right? And those are things that the security team can continue to focus on if they'd like to. What we find also is that we can take a lot of that kind of mundane work of investigation out, and so they can focus on things like policies, right, and creating good policies for the organization, implementing those policies. We can have them focusing on things that are going to be more meaningful both for them but also for the business, right? If we're taking care of the more day-to-day active tasks, they can have a more holistic role of looking at the cybersecurity program in general, and that's both more meaningful for them, and it also helps with that burnout prevention as well.
Right. So those of you watching, catching this, even if you have a team, there are still needs that and holes that eSentire can fill, gaps they can kind of cover, or just help your team out at probably a lower cost than adding more people. So really, that's even if you have a team, reach out to us and we'll help you navigate with eSentire what those gaps are, how they can kind of fill them or step in to support your team, and, preventing some things like burnout. If they're doing everything and they're maybe not as effective, and eSentire takes on that mundane stuff, all of a sudden maybe they're learning a little more, they're looking at a higher level at your full cybersecurity posture, and they're able to actually make more changes than just be reactionary because we've got the support of somebody like Alex's team there at eSentire.
Absolutely. I've never met a security analyst that likes getting called at 3 a.m. So let us take that part off your plate.
Yeah, exactly. Right on.
So just a couple of things to finish it off with, and some key statistics about our business and what sets us apart. So mean time to contain, I mentioned those small little differences in services, right? Time to contain for us is doing the initial detection, doing the full investigation, and then performing a response action. That could be host isolation, that could be disrupting a network connection, it could be disabling a malicious user account within Active Directory, things of that nature. That's our responsibility, and we do it quite quickly because the attacker dwell time and the time that it takes for initial intrusion to attack is getting smaller and smaller, which in a sense is a good thing, right? Because it means that detection has improved over time. I think in 2023, the attacker dwell time went down to 5 days on average from 9 days, which is a lot lower than it was 4 or 5 years ago for sure. But what it means is that these attackers are starting to move faster as well. So we have the detection in place, but it means that they have to move faster, so we have less time to react. So having a quick time to contain on that 24/7 is really, really important.
Perfect.
So, and then just one other thing I wanted to mention, I think our threat intelligence here is really world class. From our perspective, we have a ton of threat researchers here. We have a ton of people that are not necessarily SOC analysts, but more staying on top of trends in the industry and creating new detections for our customers. So 35% of the feeds that they publish are ahead of commercial threat feeds, and when different threats get published there, and 12% of them never even show up. So we do a lot of really good novel research here, in addition to subscribing to the the commercial feeds as well. So you get that all as part of the service too.
Excellent. And what we're doing with this series is we're going to have a full page on defendmybusiness.com about eSentire. We're going to include some white papers from them. This video will be there, so the link will be in the description. There will be a number to reach out to our team as well, or you can go through the contact us if you're interested in learning more about eSentire and connecting with somebody, whether it's Alex or somebody from his team, depending on where you are in the world. Our team will take that information and will connect you with the appropriate person. But we'll also ask you a lot more questions just about your business in general. You know, physical security, your network, all of those things we're going to work with you on. We want to look at your entire business holistically. We want to help protect you, help you operate efficiently, look at costs, just in general, make sure your business is operationally as effective as it can be. And so that will be starting with eSentire, but we're going to gather all that information so that we can help you step by step, whether you have a team and it's eSentire stepping in to support them, or you're looking for a team, maybe hiring somebody, and maybe it makes more sense to bring Alex in and eSentire's team to support you guys from that aspect. So, you know, give us a call. We'll hook you up with Alex and his team, and just really find the right solution for your specific needs. It's not a one size fits all. It's you tell us what you're looking for. We're going to ask the questions, and then we're going to make sure we get you the right fit, the right cost, all of that fun stuff. So trust our team of experts. Reach out to us. We're here for you to help your business, and we've got full support from Alex as they work through channel defendmybusiness.com, powered by Disruption.io. You know, we're global. We can help you out anywhere. It doesn't matter. Just reach out.
Excellent. Well, thank you for having me on, Russ, and really
Appreciate
looking
it,
forward
Alex.
to chatting with everybody.
Absolutely. Thanks for your time, and we'll look forward to connecting with you in the future here. Maybe we'll do another video on maybe some specific topics down the road.
That sounds great.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.